everyone, and welcome to the first after town hall for DripDropz for 2023. I'm Lloyd with the DripDropz team, and today we are talking team time management. So we're going to have a discussion on time management techniques, what works for us, maybe some things we have found that haven't worked for us. And as always, everyone that's here is welcome to participate. You don't really need to raise your hands or any of that kind of good stuff. You can just, speak right up. Let us know what you're thinking. Just honor everybody else's time, and make sure that you give everybody a chance to speak if they'd like to. And hey, Ivan, welcome. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Glad to be here.
Good to see you. Darlington, Happy New Year. Good to see you as well.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Good to see you guys.
Got Val joining
faces.
Yeah. A new dad face there. Darlington, congratulations.
Thanks.
New baby in the world there. That's awesome. Congratulations on that.
I hadn't heard that. Congratulations.
Thanks,
Congrats.
Steve.
So today, it's an apropos topic, right? We're talking time management. Babies are terrible at time management. They have no idea. They just know that they're hungry, tired, either diaper change, something. So they're terrible at time management. So we've got to get really good at time management, especially if we've got little ones we got to take care of. So otherwise, nothing gets done. All right. So and that's today's topic. We're gonna dive into time management. Something that our team. I often say that I have to herd cats in our team, because we will have a meeting and the topic goes here, there, and everywhere in between. And that's great. Sometimes it's important. It's part of the creative process, but there are times where you just got to get things done. And so I thought it would be a great topic for starting the new year, to dive into some of the tactics and techniques that I'm using to help keep our team on track. So I want to open up. We start with the first level is planning. It's really, really hard to have time management if you don't have any idea, what you're going to use, and what you have to accomplish. So I think it's kind of like sort of the top level. The number one thing for me is I have to have a plan of what things are needed to be accomplished by myself and by other team members. So that's one of the ones that we start with, and that can take any number of forms. And what I try to do with that is kind of like I use some brain dump methods, notepad and a quiet time, or sometimes it's just gathering, like, hey, what do you have? What are your top 5 priorities? What are your top 10 priorities? Just get everybody's information and getting it all in one place. That's probably one of the most important first steps for me. And that leads to prioritizing. And for me, prioritizing, I wrote down 3 methods, because I've used all 3 of these. I'd love to hear from you guys if any of these work for you. Has anyone heard of SMART goals? It's an acronym, and it's a format of making a goal that's really measurable. It's really easy to know that you've accomplished it when you've gotten to it, and it's usually tiny. It's usually something that's just one step. So I found that one to be super useful. It's a matrix, a 4-way matrix called do, decide, delegate, or delete. You either do it right now, you decide to do it at another time by scheduling it somewhere later, you delegate it to somebody else, or you delete it. You're just done. It's just something that you don't have to worry about, so you get rid of it. And I like that one. That's a good one too for, kind of getting through that overwhelm when you've got too many things to do. And the third one I like is it's David Allen's method, getting things done. That it was real popular in the 90s. It was one that was super useful for me. It's kind of in the core of stuff that I do. And if you've read any of the holacracy books, a lot of the holacracy books mention getting things done, because a lot of that holacracy is kind of like an organizational version of getting things done, which is the one from David Allen. And it kind of starts the same way. You brain dump everything, you get everything in one inbox, and then you deal with each item quickly, back to back to back. So that's that second phase, that prioritize phase of time management. Then our third one is it's divide and conquer. That's where you take those tasks, get them put in a place where everybody can see them and everybody can take action on them in the team. And we use Trello in our team for that. There's other options. But for our team, we've settled on Trello, and we have Trello boards around our projects, and we get all those tasks jammed into those Trello boards, get people on them, and keep an eye on it. So, that's kind of the start. That's the beginning, but I've been talking for a few minutes. So just kind of sit back and talk to the room now. What do you guys think? What's a technique you've used to get through your overwhelm and get your time management on point?
I want to hear from Darlington because, and actually from you, because you all do the most amount of work. Whenever I go into Lido Nation, some new thing has happened. Seeing what you guys did, DripDropz, you Lloyd did, was phenomenal with the voting. Like being able to crunch through that with all the different stuff that was going on. That's why I believe in you, and I'd love to hear from Darlington if he's got stuff about group time management.
Yeah, some of the
not to put you on the spot, man. Not to put you on the spot. I didn't mean to do that.
No.
Put him on the spot. It's fine.
Put him on the spot.
Okay.
I mean, I am sometimes shocked about how much work we get done. Yeah,
That's
but
nice.
part of it is some of the tools that Roy mentioned. We, Stephanie, set us up with a Salesforce nonprofit org that helps us like create tickets and like manage all the work. When we have an idea, or when I have an idea, I've sort of disciplined myself to just put that in a ticket, as opposed to just going and starting and working on it. And then we talk about, we meet once a week, we talk about it. We talk about priorities and things like that. A lot of delegation for sure. There's so many things. There's just so many things that I could do that needs to be done, but just trying to find where the goal is and just like beeline to the goal. It's the only way I get stuff out. Luckily, thanks to Catalyst, we've been building a small team in Kenya. So I do a lot of lead the way, put out tapes for things that needs to be cleaned up. So as I'm going and I'm like cranking out some of this stuff, I'm skipping some things, even some things like, oh, we need to be able to format this into a human readable thing. I don't worry about that. Like I just charge through and I create tickets, and assign them to some of my mentees that I have, and they come behind me typically a day or two later. So if you ever saw these things on day one, sometimes they're not great. But if you went back day 2 or day 3, then they look better. Pretty much.
That's a good divide and conquer strategy there.
Yeah,
Right, right.
And an example of delegation, right?
Mhm.
So, actually, I do have a quick question. The 4 Ds: do, delegate. Oh, decide. Wait a
Do
minute.
decide, delegate, delete. So
Okay.
it's one of those things. That's actually one of the getting things done mantras. Is if you can do it in less than 5 minutes, why are you holding on to it? Right.
Right.
Done. So you're going through your list. It's like, okay, I can actually do this now. I can do it in less than 5 minutes. Just do it. File that paper where it needs to go. Sign that check. Whatever, those things that you just like mentally block and you keep them up in your head. And it's like, if you could get that off your plate, it's amazing what that does for your clarity and your productivity. So it's do first. And then if you just can't do it right now, but you have to do it, then you decide this is going to be done by Tuesday, and you put it on Tuesday's calendar. And then it's delegate. It's get it
Okay.
off your plate to somebody else and check back with them later. And then if it doesn't fit any of those areas, it's like, okay, do I really have to do this? Is this really mine? And a lot of times the answer is no, right? So it's just delete it. It's just get it off your plate because it's not yours.
Right.
And that's
Okay.
a good holacracy thing, right? One of the holacracy things is does my organization have anything to do with this? Am I affected by this? Because if I'm not, it's not a valid concern for me to be considering in our organization. So that's on both personal productivity and group productivity.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So
And Darlington,
decide thing is
yeah.
huge. The decide thing is a big thing. There's so many decisions. I'm an avid note taker. I use Obsidian these days for taking notes, and so I write everything there. I do not make effort to remember things. I'm always amazed all the stuff that Charles knows off the top of his head. That's not me, because I'm trying to specialize in certain things, and so I'm cognizant about things I remember. So I just write everything down. I write it down. I know how to find it. I can go back to it, those kinds of things. And so that deciding thing starts way early. Like, what am I going to even remember? What am I going to commit to long-term memory? So no, don't ask me anything. I typically don't have to look it up. Like, in which, it has its own drawbacks, but it does allow me to like really do crank out through things. Like crank out to code. I don't have to look up a lot of coding references. Those I try to commit to memory, and everything else I sort of delegate to Obsidian.
Yeah.
I am
Obsidian
an
is
old
great.
school note taker. I actually keep a notebook here. I use tools like that as well. I have some digital note taking tools as well, but I also default to having an actual notebook, always handy, because I never know when I'm going to need to write a note right away. So that's just old school for that for me for my first round of notes. There you go.
Yeah, I
If you
do
are into
these.
paper notebooks, I have this Wave notebook actually, and you can write on it with a gel pen. You can put it in a microwave, and it wipes it all clean once it's filled.
Nice.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
some spy stuff right there.
Right.
That's like a
So if
spy
the FBI's
file.
coming, throw it in the microwave. Though. You know,
That's like,
Why is this
How have-
notebook in the microwave?
why have I not known about this? Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me?
I'm looking this up right now. That is crazy. Nice.
It's called Wave. You can get it on Amazon. It's pretty cool. I've figured out I think you can microwave it about 10 times to wipe it all clean before it becomes not that great, right? But
Mhm.
Does it really
Oh.
wipe the first time it's gone?
oh yeah, man. You do it about 30 seconds on each side. You just put like a coffee mug right in the center of it with some water for about 30 seconds on each side, and it works great.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wild.
That is a cool tool.
So wait a minute. Are you saying that it erases and warms up your coffee at the same time? No.
I haven't tried
Stop.
coffee in the one, but go.
Wait a minute. What's going on here?
What if you
I
spill
mean-
coffee on it?
Well, it won't wipe that clean.
No. Kyle's like, oh man. Hey, Darlington, what? So you said you used the Salesforce. Is that like a special organization Salesforce tool for your ticketing and stuff?
Yeah, if I didn't have Stephanie, my co-founder, I probably would have either used Trello or used GitLab. We use GitLab for our code management, and it has project management tooling in there.
Okay.
Stephanie works at Salesforce, so she said that as far as
Yeah.
part of it is then she can create a lot of reports. Right? Like I need to pay the mentees in Kenya. So be able to complete those tickets, be able to push a button and get a report that said this is how much you owe this person and those kinds of things. So for the reporting part of it, that's why
Right.
we use Salesforce. And it helps us with being able to really estimate how long things takes us to do over the course of time, right? And so part of the delegation part, because I don't want to think about all of that reporting stuff, I use Salesforce so she can do the reporting and I can just focus on the actual idea management.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's a good point, that there are many tools, many ways to do the job, right? And some of us are comfortable with one set of tools, others. But, it's really not so much about the tool as it is about the technique, right? Because most of these tools will work with these techniques, but if you don't have the techniques, the tool's not going to do you a lot of good. So that's
Right.
our core principle, is that we try to do that, and that does. It's a good natural move to the next segment of the time management part. And what I have in my notes next, I have delete distractions. This is a big one. This is a super important one. It's real easy to, I'm working on this, but this came up, I better go take care of that. And then, this came up, that's not time management. That's putting out fires, or, which, I mean, it's going to happen to all of us. So when you do have that time where you've dedicated it to work, probably one of the safest ways to make sure you keep that time is to turn off those distractions. So there are a couple of tools that do that. There's some kind of like for instance, the snooze on your phone, the do not disturb. You can set that for an hour or 2 hours, or however long you've blocked out, so that your phone's not bothering you. And then it's cutting off that Slack notifier.
Yeah.
Same deal with the Slack notifier. You can say 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. You can set yourself a block of time where it's not going to bother you, because other people are going to be using it. They're going to be communicating, and you're going to be getting those notifications, and you're focused. You never get in the flow state that way, right? So you're always just, bouncing from notification back to your work and back and forth. And so that was a huge one for me. And then another one I wanted to talk about, it along that same lines, is batch times. You might have heard of Pomodoro technique. It's 25 minutes working, 5-minute break. And some research has been done, and there's another one that's actually even more productive. It's a 5217. It doesn't have a fancy name. It doesn't sound like a pizza you can order, but it's the 5217 method, and it's where you're effectively you're working for 52 minutes and then taking a 17-minute break, and it is something that is research dependent, that is showing that it's a better way of getting into flow states and actually working through a block of time, and then moving your body so that you could potentially get back into another flow state if you wanted to, after you've done that first sprint. So I thought those were a couple of pretty cool ones. And as I was reading around, getting ready for this today, that was that new one, I knew Pomodoro. I've used Pomodoro for years. There's timers for that and everything, and I've done that for years. But 5217 is one to give a shot to. And I'm planning on trying it a little bit this year and see how it works for me.
You haven't tried it yet?
Not yet. Just heard some research on it, read some research on it. And I'm like, hey, this looks pretty promising. And I do. A lot of times the 25/5, it feels short. It feels like, man, I could have gone. I was doing something, and I'm getting interrupted and feel like I got to take a break. And then I don't necessarily get back into a flow state after that. So I'm looking forward to trying this 5217 thing. So
yeah, flow state is important.
So, and then the last one on this area, real quick, the last one is that you got to quit task switching. Task switching is not multitasking. We're fooling ourselves when we say we are multitasking. We're task switching. You're going from one thing to another, back to another, and it's just not efficient. So that's my on this area. But again, I want to hear from everybody else. What do you guys think? What's your ways for blocking your time or for being more efficient with your time when you got it?
The blocking thing was such a challenge when I was working from home. Like, I had to leave the house. Like, sometimes the wife and the kids would be good at not interrupting for like a day, and then after I'm like, hey guys, try not to be the one to reach out to me. And I take breaks. I will come in and be like, how you doing? What's going on? But anyway, so now I have an office away, and that's been great. The delete distraction things, definitely that, right? The snoozing and the max. are super nice. They when you do your snoozing toggle, it goes across all your devices, so you don't have to remember to go do it on your phone or your iPad
Yep.
too. So you just sort of follow through. And then along with that, I also am pretty adamant about also deleting frustrations. Especially things that just there. They just I found them to be very counterproductive to just being my productivity. Even something as especially for a programmer like myself, like slow computers that they just
Mhm.
the frustration due to my productivity is crazy. So if I can remove it, I remove it. If it's something I need to like sit with and deal with, then I would, take a break and then sort of work through it. If it's like a challenge, right? Versus a nuisance.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty heightened about those frustrating things. So tools I'm using, if it's frustrating, that's my sign to switch to a different tool, all those kinds of things. Which is great. And then on the task switching and the 52-17 thing, I don't have a hard cap because sometimes I just get into a flow and I'm like, if you ever watch me like at a coffee shop or something, you might even see me doing some of these movements because I'm just like going and going and going. But
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's the secret. I'm telling you what. No. Forget hey, you're listening on YouTube. Forget it's this action. This action. That's how you do it. I have a feeling that's how you do it. You just
Got
let the
it.
secret out of the bag. You just let the secret out of the bag.
Oh,
That's it.
right. So I'm like doing it. I'm just going at it. But the moment I hit like a natural block, then I will stop and be like, okay, the flow is gone. And sometimes I will switch tasks to like in completely unrelated. Like I need to go look at comments on Twitter and to check my DMs, like those kinds of things. I need to go
Yeah.
check the Lighter Nation backend for 20 minutes or so, and then come back to the work I was doing. Yeah, that's what I do.
I wonder. Mhm. My question is like how to get that done in a group. Like how do we as a
Yeah.
group like stop our distractions? I love this idea of like delete like what is not our to deal with, right? So
way you do it in
yeah.
a group is you have to have a common goal and you have to understand the goal and you focus on momentum. And it goes back to a lot of what you guys were saying, like distractions, eliminating those. Anything that fucks with your momentum, you gotta really get a hold of it. As you go with when you work as a group, when you've got a common goal, that's kind of the goal, and you're always beating around the bush. And sometimes and it happens a lot, and we do waste a lot of time. People get off topic and we go down those roads and we entertain it sometimes, but at times when we don't entertain it, it's when we get the most done.
Yeah, we've got an agenda system that we're using where at the beginning of the meeting, we've got the agenda out and we put our items on the agenda. We don't always stick to it. We're not like perfect at it by any means, but like Kyle was saying, when we're in that state and we've got that agenda up and we're hitting those items, man, we hit those items, we get them done. And that's great. We've implemented what we call jam sessions. So when we're working as a group and we have one thing to work on, and it's a specific thing, we'll have a Figma board that's up, or we'll have a, something up that we're all concentrating on that item, and that helps too. So it is that common shared focus that we're all on that item, and we're on that item for this hour. This is our hour associated to this one thing, and we're gonna nail it down. So it's not perfect, but it works.
But the other part of it is making sure you have the right people in the room, right?
Oh, yeah.
That I think that's the number one thing, is because it's like you're throwing a ball at the wall and the ball's going to bounce to somebody else because it's what their expertise and realm should be. And so, but everybody just kind of plays their part and you just chisel away at it. And at the end, you've got a sculpture. You figured and you identified the problem, you work through it, and come to a path.
Yeah. One of the things I like to do is just sort of reverse. I just multiply by -1. So having the right people in the room for focus, having the wrong people in the room, no judgment, but it could mess with the focus because it's like, oh, I'm not an expert, or I kind of, for instance, the reason why I'm not in the Attila Prism room right now is because I know I would ask some off topic down like the road questions, like I'm not in,
Well, no, that's okay.
You know what I mean?
that you're not trying to achieve a specific objective, but yeah, when you're trying to achieve a specific objective and the objective is extremely serious and it requires everybody in the room to bring a professional level of expertise, then if that is not there, then that can result in not coming to market essentially for whatever failing or security breach. And I mean, the team absolutely matters when, I mean, if you're trying to make revenue, I think it matters.
Yeah. And that's I think that's just the first thing that you said is like common goals, like so that the right people all sort of accept that goal in the room. And that has like to do with documentation, like having a Figma board up, common shared focus. Like these are all really gems.
Facilitators, what's doing it for us, like for some of our meetings, we're appointing a facilitator and you rotate them and it's their job to get through the points. And
that facilitator role is no joke.
It's kind of empowering.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, but I'm just saying, as far as what I've noticed is that there's some meetings where it's like, oh shit, we got 4 minutes, we got a lot of shit to cover. And that's not how you want to operate. But now that we're kind of getting on top of it, it's like, oh, okay, we've gone through everything. We got 35 minutes. Let's go, guys. What do we got? And then you kind of handle the non-prepare. If it wasn't important enough for you to prepare for it and put it in the agenda for a meeting, then it can go after you address all the other stuff, I think.
One of the things that I've noticed, in the couple of years I've been involved in Cardano is, in these group meetings, it helps if everybody in the meeting is busy, right? Because you come to the meeting to do a particular thing. And then when you have some people where it's the only thing that they would do, it's not just the purpose of the meeting that they're there, it's also their social outlet, and so, and it's not that those people can't be valuable, but, you have to know ahead of time that you're going to have to kind of corral this person because they're going to want to talk about whatever.
Well, the social aspect too is interesting, and I understand that too, and we even deal with that in our own work because we deal. We've got 11 meetings. I have 11 meetings today, and every single one of them is with these guys, and it's like, okay, it's part of you adopt for your social aspect too. So, and this is a community, so there can be some room for that. But I understand the frustration, but I think that you can mitigate a lot of that if you absolutely understand why the hell you're meeting. Right. If you walk into a meeting, you've got a clear objective. Why am I here? What are we trying to do? And then, why am I here? What am I here to contribute? What value am I here to contribute? And then when the room is full of people like that, it just kind of flows. And for me, I used to be just an entrepreneur. I used to, I was a mediocre developer, beginner to mediocre developer, enough to where I could build stuff and make money with it. But I wasn't able to function well until, I had a really good team and just complemented what I was bad at. I think is the best way to do it too. Find help where you're bad at stuff. Maybe that's another solution.
I think that may be the best entrepreneurial lesson that you can ever learn is to find the people that are good at the stuff you're bad at and partner with them, because man, that makes such a difference.
Yep.
I've worn every hat. I've worn every hat, and I'm really bad at wearing some of them. Some of them look really bad on me. So
I will say, going back, Newman, some of one way that I've tried to level up the productivity and the time management and productivity for the whole team, and especially since I work with junior developers who are just entering the space too, the two things I try to, we try to hold is, have a no fault language, another thing, and then the thing I've tried to, because everybody's going to have their own exact flow and style for how they are, on this exercising or practicing good management or whatever. But one thread that I try to get to have everybody do is the breadcrumbs thing, right? If you see something really that distraction thing, don't try to address it. Just make a note of it. Make a note of it. If you're not doing a note in something that's external, since we do work in code base, you can just do one of those to-do things and they all show up somewhere that says, oh, these are all the things we've noticed. And so that empower people to like see things and like and mark and put a flag on it, but not like be distracted by it.
I see.
And then just the no fault language like across the board in general, you know.
I'm putting a flag and move on, which is great, which is you know, and if
Right, I
you
used to work. Oh, sorry, just with the flag thing, I used to work at a bigger company, and what they would encourage was they call it Boy Scouting, right? Like if you see an improvement, make the improvement, but that's slow, because these can spiral. They can sort of like you go do one tiny thing and then it turns into, you know, 5 other things and those kinds of things. So really put a flag and move on. You run into less, you know, runaway times and things like that.
just quickly, that sort of like, I trust that those flags will be picked up and handled by my team, you know, and I think that might be like what, you know, to Kyle, like, what was it about that team that made you, and we talked about like kind of finding people that were good at what you weren't good at, or, you know, like that were complementary, but it's sort of like, you really need to trust your team, or your team has to have, again, like talking about that shared common goal. Any other like qualities of the team that are maybe out there?
I don't know if, you know, I don't have a lot of experience. This is kind of like, you know, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time, and I've had successful businesses and businesses that have failed. But this is really my first experience with a team like this. Now I've tried to put teams together before in the past, but this came together, but that was me more kind of like proactively, like saying, hey, I'm going to put a team together as an entrepreneur,
right?
And really try and push it this way. What's happening here is a little bit more organic. And so being able to kind of just come and have an opportunity to participate in a decentralized environment, you know, I came as someone who wanted to run a stake pool. And so I think that was about 3 years ago now. It was when I first showed up, roughly for, you know, where the ITN started. And you know, you build relationships with people who also show up, who are your competitors, because when you're trying to push a common goal forward, you know, and you're collaborating with good intent and goodwill over a long period of time, you can build rapport amongst people, and also discover what each other's good at, and vice versa, and you learn to grow as men. And so for me, I actually built a lot of good rapport with some of my largest competitors from a stake pool perspective, if you will. But and then in just doing what we do and being here, opportunities arise, and you know, you have conversations with friends and colleagues, and then it was just really simple, you know. You know, as far as what it just, but it was something that formed very organically, and it's
okay.
It was an unusual thing for me. You know, I didn't have any obvious blockchain skills, and I was just here because, you know, it's open and permissionless. And then people started inviting me to meetings, and it was probably 8 or 9 months before, in my own head, I knew why they were inviting me to meetings. You know, and it was probably that much again before I could even name that. You know, I kind of knew why, but I didn't know how to describe it. And you know, and I think that's what's so unusual about this space. You know, and you know, because I've become convinced through this experience that if you are serious, you can find your place here. But you have to have that patience inside yourself, and you have to find those people that are patient with you, who are willing, right? You know, you still have to validate yourself by providing value. Some people know that everybody's valid, and they want to give you that space to find your own validity, you know, and that's interesting. That's interesting. And there's not a lot of teams, even in Cardano, where you can do that, you know, partly because of the specificity of what you are. You know, like DripDropz is a very focused team, you know, like they got specific things that they want to build. and create. And the same thing with Kyle and Adoja. They want to do real things. And, you know, but there's a lot of other teams that need just fundamentally human expertise,
Mhm.
you know, and you've got to think about yourself, you know, with kind of like some ruthless honesty about yourself to make your space,
Right.
to find your space.
Yeah, permissionless doesn't mean that you don't have, roles to play, that you don't need to have certain, some set of skills. It doesn't necessarily have to be any particular set of skills, just a set of skills that are in need somewhere.
Well,
Right.
I mean, even like it's just, I think that it goes a lot, like it really resonated with me, Steve, when you said sometimes you just gotta really take a hard look at yourself. Like growth. For me, this past year, I grew more professionally, I think, than I've ever grown. And that was a result of just putting myself in an environment where other people were so much stronger where I wasn't, and watching how you say and learning via observation how things are done in that realm, and not just that, like just rising to be able to provide and grow the things that I'm supposedly good at, right? Because that's my path. And so it's just interesting, like it's and it can start with just a couple people, you get a couple people, and then a couple more, and then you build rapport, and you find people who match your vision, and it's okay. You don't need to have the same vision. There's all kinds of stuff to do. There's all kinds of ways to earn money. You guys can, you can build a whole education center that's how Emergo's making money. They're selling education package for like $400 a pop, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's revenue there in education. You don't have to be a builder per se to monetize, is my point. That's all I'm trying to convey there.
I could add to that.
Please.
Yeah, Steve, that's a good point with the, these are people you're dealing with, and there's personalities involved. And a lot of people look at businesses as mechanical structures, like, people are cogs in the system, and that's not the case at all. Every person in the system is an advanced biological creature with feelings and emotions and thoughts. And so when you factor those types of things in, like what Kyle was saying, one of the major factors are a lot of the problems that people have when they first get into business. And this pertains to focus as well, is the relinquishment of duties, responsibilities, or power.
Yeah.
So when you come in, you might not be the best fit for a job. Recognizing that you might not be the best fit is one of the most important things that you can do. And then also the ability to recognize that someone might be a better fit for a certain job or task or responsibility is also another one. So when it comes to like time management or achieving goals or anything of that matter, it's a lot more dynamic than most people make it out to be, because everybody's different. Everyone has their own plans, their own emotions, their own feelings, their own personality. So when dealing with many of them at the same time, there's very much so a human factor when trying to manage all these things together. And that's a solid point that a lot of people overlook, because they treat a business like I said, a mechanical component, where this person does one thing, it's a one-trick pony, and that's never the case at all. There are always multiple dynamic layers to each person on a team. And so, for example, if you have a team member leave, one team member, it changes the entire team. It's not just one person, one job.
Yeah.
The whole composition becomes something different at that point.
Absolutely. And it's funny. I love when these conversations do this, where we're naturally hitting each of the points I'm trying to steer the conversation toward, and then it hits it all on its own. The next section for what I wanted to talk about for team time management actually comes back to the self-focus, the individual focus. And so the next ones that I have in my notes are setting an appointment with yourself. You need time to do the things that you need to do. So set time aside specifically for those tasks that you have to do. Don't leave those tasks for whenever I'm done with all these other things. You have to set aside time specifically for that part of it. And the next one is know when to say no. There are times where you're going to, we have 11 meetings today that have to be, I actually had to say no to one of the 11 meetings. There was no other choice for me but to say no to one of the 11 meetings we had today. Okay. That's okay. I can trust the rest of the team is going to handle everything that needs to be handled in that meeting, and anything I need from that meeting, I'll hear from them later. I know I will. They'll definitely not give me the information I need, to take care of the next step. So know when to say no. And then lastly, implementing a daily check out with yourself. At the end of the day, write down those notes of the things that you still need to do for the next day. Write down the items that are bothering you, the things that you need to address later. That's going to, putting those things down, it gives your body permission to let them go until you need to address them again later. And that's a huge thing that I use for time management to keep stress down, because otherwise, if I don't do it, I'm in horrible rounds of stress going, because that stuff's just rattling in my brain all night long.
Right.
So what about you guys? What are your individual things to keep yourself focused?
I have a reflection requirement too. And I have to, I think that's equivalent, where you have to take the time to process and align.
Yeah. I got a morning routine, meditation, workout, sauna, all that whole thing to get myself ready for the day. And then the night before, I write down everything, the first things I have to get done in the morning. So after I get through my routine, I'm thinking about that list. So once I'm done with my routine, it's onto the list, and you can usually knock the list out pretty quick. As long as you know what you're trying to do and you plan ahead for it and you don't bum rush into it. And but yeah, it's just, I think it's routine and structure is it, and having the discipline to keep the routine up.
Yeah, my biggest trick is remembering all the genius ideas I have walking the dog, because a lot of I come back in through the door and they're gone. Like I really have to think hard about it while I'm having the thought, because I if I'm not careful, it's like a dream, I'll lose it.
Yeah, get a voice recorder for your smartphone. If your smartphone's with you anyway, put a voice recorder on it.
I did that when the smartphones came out, right? And I was driving a truck, and I realized I could make voice memos.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm going to do this because I have brilliant ideas driving a truck, and then I'd park it and I'd like play those recordings, and it'd sound like, I didn't know what the hell I was talking about. Just some truck driver yelling.
Man, some truck driver yelling. That sounds like a great name for your podcast, of just a bunch of rah, 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 rah,
yeah, right.
with some engine noise and brake noise stuff going. I'd listen to that. We
lost DripDropz. We could have lost it. It could have not been a thing, because that was a discussion of a severely drunken discussion one night. And luckily the next morning we remembered what we were talking about, and it continued on to become what it is today. But yeah, writing it down or trying your best to remember it is important.
I've just on the audio notes thing, I think I did it with like one of those mini cassette recorders. And I was like, I get all these great ideas on my walk to the bus stop. And this was in like my teenage embarrassment years. And I remember like trying to do it, and I just was so embarrassed I could not do it. Or it would sound like this, and I would talk real careful, and then I'd try to put down my great ideas. I could not do it. I'm kind of curious about the musicians in the group. I see Session there. Like, I feel like, Session, I get yourself ready, because I want to hear from you. I haven't heard from you in a while. And not to say that you're a different animal, but the musicians they do work in groups and collaborative work a little different. Has anything resonated with you coming from that perspective, or if there's any other musicians or any, I'm just trying to toss it up to you, bud.
No, I guess at its core, for me, at least from my perspective, building a company is a creative endeavor. And right, building it's creative. And so it's almost like I live life. I fill the bucket in my brain with things, with experience, whatever I'm thinking about. I fill the bucket up, and then it just kind of gels together, coagulates. I type that my best ideas come to me in my dreams. It's like these disparate ideas just kind of makes sense somehow during sleep for some reason. And I wake up like, oh shit, that's the problem. That's how you solve the problem. And I write it down immediately. So yeah, it's a creative for me. I'm not technical like that. So so the process is going to be different for you guys, right? Right. So I take that creativity and then I communicate it to the technical team. Like, hey, what about this? What about that? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm a notebook on the side of the bed fan too. I'm a notebook in a meetings and a notebook on the side of the bed. That is forever for me. That's a feature of my life. They're always within reach because of the needing to remember something or getting an idea or whatever.
Session, I'm going to keep on you, man. What does it come to you as? Do you like get like musical ideas? Do you think in like other people, or is like tell me more? I just I just want to keep it up on you just a little bit.
So a little known thing, and I didn't even know this about myself until very recently, a couple years ago. I have aphantasia. I didn't even know that was a thing. When I close my eyes, I can't picture anything. So it's when I visualize things, it's the sum of its parts. It's like MS-DOS, right? It's like I don't know. It's like I don't know how to explain this, but it helps. It helps me because I'm not thinking about the picture. I'm thinking about what the pieces are that
like a sequence of steps, like things to do, or like a story, but it's not visual.
It's not visual at all. It's and it's hard to explain even. Like
It becomes visual in the dreams. It sounds like I'm fascinated with people who process in their dreams. My younger brother does that, and I don't have nearly the same like clarity around my dreams that he does, but there is something going on there.
I wake up from dreams and write down story ideas. I'm a writer, so that's kind of my core creative is being a writer. And so I wake up with story ideas all the time. I have a notebook full of them.
It's like, for me, it's like the problem I'm trying to crack. I guess a real world scenario. I dreamed the real world scenario of that problem. Right? Like
an example
in
or something.
Like an example, like a story in which this problem is solved in the story. And then I'm like, that's the solution right there.
Right. Okay.
And then I write that down.
Speaking of visuals, do any of you guys have a vision board? Does anyone keep a vision board here?
We have a vision board in our bedroom now. It's normally in our office, but as you guys
know, I have
the
one. It's right there on the wall.
Yeah. It's in the bedroom right now, but we do have one.
So what a vision board is it's a goal set, and it's, I think, the redundancy or the reminder. So you're supposed to put this thing where you'll see it every day, and you put up your goals and basically, or your aspirations, whatever it is that you want to go do or achieve or acquire, and you put it up on this board. And I think it's good because it's a constant reminder to keep you on task to achieve a certain thing. But man, they work. They genuinely work. There's nothing that I haven't put on that vision board that I haven't gotten, which is weird. And the only things that I haven't are still up on that board. So
right,
it's crazy.
It's as though Anthony's reading the script over here, because the last section to talk about today, because we've got a little over 10 minutes left for today, because we're going to be managing our time and our space as well. We're only doing up to an hour for these going forward. Nice. The last section is on future forward. It's on how do we use our time management to get to our goals. And so again, my notes, I said future forward. I said something about saving your sanity as well, which that's to say you need to also schedule time for your personal things that are not work-related things. You need to schedule time for your exercise, for your meditation, for those things that you want to do, to learn something for yourself, to take care of those kinds of things. And then also I'm going to drop the Pareto principle in here, the 80-20 rule, that 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. So the more you focus in that 20% time on those things that matter the most, that's going to get you 80% of your results right there. And so that's my last take on the last segment here. So what about you guys? What is your future forward? What is your way of making sure that you're going to reach your goals?
Vision board. Everyone should have a vision board.
Right on.
Can I get that from Amazon?
You just get a cork board and whatever, dude. I have magazine clippings, shit I printed out, just whatever. Just whatever it is that you want to achieve or get to, put it up there, and then make sure the hardest part is looking at it every day.
Okay.
I like whiteboards just so I can change my mind.
There you go. Magnetic whiteboard is always a good one too.
Yeah. Yeah, I have pictures of the river cruise that I want to take. My wife and I want to go on a long river cruise, so that's up there on our vision board right now. We want to do some RVing. There's an RV picture up there. Those are things that we have planned. They're in our minds. They're things we want to do in the next couple of years. So they're on the board, and we're working toward those goals.
And the reason to have a goal is to align your actions. So like you're going out the door, you're doing something, and you see the RV and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Like, that's not going to get me close to the RV. Or when you're doing your reflections, or when you're doing your brain dump, you're like, oh, that's an RV thing. That's a so-and-so thing. And it kind of works a little kind of in the subliminal, because it's just there. And you may not, okay.
What I found most interesting about it is watch how much it changes over the course of time.
Okay.
Like seeing it every day, you'll be like, I don't really want that anymore. This is what I said. So yeah, it actually helps you filter out some of the bullshit and things that you thought you wanted, or maybe grew out of, or don't want anymore, or, things change. So it really keeps you focused, and it keeps a good focal point as to what you're trying to achieve and what you're trying to do. Like, dude, if I showed you guys some of the shit that I put on that board and then ended up getting, you'd be like, no way. No way.
Good stuff.
So be careful what you put on your board, right? So I guess that's
might get it.
And then it's, I guess, because I do this reverse thing, right? So it's like
-1, multiply.
-1. Multiply it by -1, and you invert it. Yeah. So it's sort of like a vision board. It's like you put out your goal, but then you're on the opposite of that is like your daily routine or tasks or processes that you're involved in. You can't go around, and this is like kind of a silly aphorism, but you can't keep planting watermelons and expect to get corn, right? So it's just like, oh, I keep working on this other thing. It's not going to get me to the RV. I'm saying RV a lot. Do I want an RV?
You might want an RV, Newman.
Well, but being aware, like I love it I'd love to do it as a group. I'd love to say, hey, C4C, hey, Little Fish, hey, other groups I'm involved in. I was like, let's do a group vision board. And yeah. And then you can kind of look at
your team wants to be. Yeah. Find out where your team wants to be. I can articulate where our team wants to be this year. I can, because we've been talking about it, right? We know where we want to be, and it's really cool. And it does change, just like Anthony said, it changes over time, and that's okay, because it changes as a consensus. We do. We know we have a shared vision. We know where we're headed, and so it's great to have that shared vision, because it keeps you focused and moving in that right direction.
And articulate, and to literally manifest it by like doing an action of finding the thing it is, and then going to a magazine or finding a screenshot of an RV. We're using the RV as an example, or a beautiful garden, or an incredible dinner for friends, like a dinner party. Like I really want a dinner party during this break, and etc. And then to be able to communicate it to myself, but then to communicate it to your team. Like if it's just you, of course, I want this, I want that. But especially when new people are coming in, like to be able to say, oh, look, here's our vision board. Super, picture as 1,000, feel me. And then to facilitate it.
All good. I can't imagine where I'd be without you guys.
Nice. Sweet, Steve.
Yeah, this is that information management that for the team. Like the team has to be aligned on, and sometimes it's hard to pick up on the mission and vision and all the intricacies of that. I do think that vision board for a team, like a collective vision board, would be.
Start with a personal one.
Yeah.
Learn how to use it.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see who comes back next week and has one.
Yep. You should have your vision board up behind you.
Well, I have a couple boards here, but I haven't used them specifically for that. I've mixed
As stupid as it sounds, just start doing it.
It does sound a little silly. It does sound a little silly. That's why it's kept me from. I mean,
I'm as manifestation or anything.
I
like
know.
that.
I don't. I think it's beyond that. I think it's more of a focus thing. You know, a manifestation's an easy word to put to it, but it's more of a focus thing. So if you look at it every day, and every day you get 0.5% closer to obtaining one of those things on your vision board, it's just a matter of 200 days before you got it. You know, and then you remove it from the board.
Got it.
What you got, Kyle?
I got it.
Kyle's got it.
I don't want to get a vision board because all I got is I got like 100 like old school Ninja Turtle stickers and I just stick it all over it. But then I was like, oh, but that's what I want.
Yeah.
There you go. Exactly.
Customize the vision board.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's cool because it's a finite space too, guys. That's another thing. It's a finite space. So that's why the board itself is important, because it's only so large. You can only fit so many long-term goals on that board. And that really makes you get like even more focused, because now it's like that RV fits up there, that, you know, that boat trip through Europe fits up there. But is there really room to, you know, to go parasailing as well? Maybe, you know, but eventually you're going to reach a point where your board's pretty full. And when that board's filled up, you know, you either should pull something off of it, maybe reevaluate, or, you know, or just say, hey, I've got more room to do this next thing.
I haven't ever had a problem overfilling it yet.
Well, that's good.
I might have to, I don't know, I have to consider this challenge here. Vision board, the physical thing have always been so hard for me. And I tend to have a slight natural aversion to accumulating physical things.
What about mind mapping, Lido? Mind mapping? We would try mind mapping.
What is that? So what is the mind mapping? I guess no, I haven't tried that.
I love mind mapping. I don't know if we have enough time for me to. Look it up. There are a lot of apps for that.
Yeah, that could be a good
now.
topic.
That's not to say I don't have, you know, visions. The way I get around the whole board thing, that's simple. There's like no more than 3 of them at a time, and they're not super specific. They're like what I want to be able to do, type of vision, what I want the company to be able to do, kind of a thing. And I can communicate that. But yeah, just
I'd like to run a
my
test.
wife tried to
everyone
what?
I'd like to run a test with a group. Everyone that gets a vision board starts posting up what they want. And if you genuinely look at it every day, as we come back throughout the weeks, let us know if you've taken an item off of your vision board.
Yeah, that'd be very cool.
That would be badass.
Neat.
And I think that's a great challenge
wow.
to end on, because we're hitting right at the hour now. So guys, thank you so much. This was a fantastic first conversation of the new year. I am so excited to keep doing this every week. We will pick an entrepreneur topic to discuss every week. We'll be here at Town Hall every week, and it's just going to be an open forum discussion just like this. Hopefully we all come away with new ideas, new ways to build up our teams and all of the Cardano as we're doing it. And thank you guys all for your participation today. Really appreciate it, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, bud.